Okay. Hey, hi, how are you?
Good.
Well, I have you all to myself. I want to ask you lots of questions before everybody else gets you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I promise we're gonna have plenty of time and I'll answer as many questions as I can. And if I don't get everything answered today, we'll have other choices on how we.
Okay.
So how's everybody doing? We're gonna get started in just a couple of minutes. I always like to reward people when they show up on time. And I'll just have to keep an eye out for the ones that are coming a little bit later. So, how we're going to do this today is you're going to ask questions, and hopefully, I've got answers, and I've got a couple of things I wanted to share with you all too. So, why don't we start? And if you would each just state your name, and I'll call on you, so it won't be too overly confusing. State your name. If you have published, the title of your book or books, and then I'll circle back around and you can each ask a question. And since Nancy got here first, she has to be first.
Oh, wow. I feel like such a good student. Thank you.
Okay.
Nancy Smith is my name. I write jazz music. I've never written a book in my life until the COVID. And
Yeah.
now I've written a children's book, probably ages 6, 7, 8, 9, and it's been illustrated by a wonderful 8th grade artist who is amazing. So I'm at that point where the book is sort of 90% done, still needs to be fine-tuned a little bit, but it's mostly done. And now I don't have a clue what to do.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll give you some ideas on that.
Okay.
All right. And Marlene, I can see you next. I know it's been ages. So different.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marlene Cullen, and I published the Right Spot books. Just published the 6th one. Which hand am I holding? There it is, right there in my bookcase, right behind me. If that is my bookcase, it's a photo of my bookcase. So, Right Spot books have short pieces are the anthologies by different authors. Each piece has a writing prompt, and there's a resources section in the back.
Targeting what age? It's an adult?
It's adult.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question.
It is a good question, and we're going to cover some of that too. All right, Miss Sloan.
Well, I was just coming to visit.
Oh,
I don't have any questions, but I was curious as to what questions people had. I have published 4 historical novels. I also own an ESL publishing company where I published Professors ESL books.
Awesome. And Woody, introduce yourself. Since you're our male counterpart.
I bring the testosterone, sort of. My name's Woody Weingarten. I published a book several years ago called Roller Coaster: How a Man Can Survive His Partner's Breast Cancer. My wife had breast cancer 25 years ago, and the book talks about that. It does not talk about, this edition does not talk about the fact that 7 months ago she had a recurrence and a mastectomy, and that may be a second edition. She's fine. She, in fact, is right over there sitting in the same office space as I'm in. I am just about ready to publish a children's book that I wrote with I wrote it actually 5 years ago. When my granddaughter was 8, she wrote it with me. It's close. The reason it was delayed this long was because we got a pro bono illustrator, so it was hard for me to push him. The lesson is to pay for something. Anyway, that hopefully will come out this fall. It's just about ready. And I am currently working on, because of the COVID, I've sort of been cloistered here. I'm 82, going to be 83 in about 2 weeks. And I haven't gone very many times out anywhere. So I have started a new book, which is not a new book because it's a compilation of columns I wrote over a 10-year period for the Marinescope Weeklies under the rubric of the Roving Eye. So I'm in the process of editing those columns to take out some of the really local references so it's a little more universal. And that will, I don't know when that'll come out. A book I thought ready called Mystery Dates, which is again sort of memoir-ish in terms of it covered a lot of things my wife and I have done over 30 years where we
Excuse me.
take the other someplace and the other didn't know where the someplace was until he or she got there. And I did research and had places in California, in the United States, and all over the world, and a paragraph and a half on outer space. The problem is that probably half of those places may never open again. So I have to rewrite the whole damn book. That's where I am at the moment. I'm upright. I'm okay.
Hey, those are all good things. So I can see Evelyn. What we're doing is short introduction, who you are, if you've published a book, the title or titles, and then we're going to circle back around and start getting the questions because we've got another person after you.
Well, I just published my first book. It's called Between Inca Walls. You can see the cover behind me, a Peace Corps memoir, and it's about my 2 years leading up to and in the Peace Corps in the 1960s, 64 to 66, and a lot of exciting things happened, including a romance.
Ooh, all right. I'm intrigued now. And I see Amanda. Hello, my dear.
There we go. Turning my
There you
audio on.
are.
Hi,
Yay.
everybody. I've written literary fiction. I have a novel out, Going to Solace. The illustrated version may be coming out this month, so yay. But a second novel is in submission right now, so hopefully by next year it's coming out. Judy and I, our paths have crossed for years and years, and I'm just delighted to be here and learn some things.
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to teach you anything, but I'm really happy you're here. To me, this is the most fun when we can get together, have conversations, people ask questions, everybody can pitch in. I'm not the only expert in the room because everybody knows something that somebody else doesn't know. And I found over the years, I disabuse myself of saying I'm the expert. I probably am an expert in figuring out where to go to get information. So that part I will claim. And I'm working on a memoir myself, and I printed out about 3/4 of it. This is the really messy, nasty first draft. Way more pages than I thought it was, and so I'm printing it out because the next part is to mark it up, because you have to look at it on paper before you can actually do real editing. And my good friend Trudy just joined us. So Trudy, what we're doing is telling our name, if we've published a book or are about to publish, the name of the book, and then we're going to do questions after that. So please introduce yourself to the crew.
Sorry, I was rushing back from the chiropractor as fast as I could. My name's Trudy Trinner, and I published a book about 10 years ago, and then I published a second book about 8 years ago, and they're on the subject of what people have done for their elderly relatives to make them happy. And I published the first book because I said to my mom, what could I do to be a better daughter? And she said, you could just send me a little more mail, because when I walk all the way to the mailbox and there's nothing there, it just feels kind of sad. So from that day until the day she died, 2.5 years later, I sent her 4 or 5 things a week just so she'd have something in the mailbox when she got there. So the first book that I published, and it could have been a package of flower seeds, or it could have been a dog biscuit, or it could have been a bus ticket that said, on my way to Basie's to buy a new dress, wish you were here, or just any little thing that I could put a stamp on and get in her mailbox, so that when she opened up that mailbox, I could picture the look on her face as not being one of, oh, there's nothing else here, but, oh, I got something in the mail. So the first book I published was called Make Mom Happy by Mail, and had a picture of my mom on the cover, opening up her big mailbox by the road. And then I started interviewing other people about what they had done for their elderly relatives. And the second book is called Before They're Gone, which is an anthology of other people's stories with just a little recap of how the whole thing started. So what I'm thinking I'd like to do now is I'd like to republish with a little intro having to do with where we are now in the world and how this still makes sense. So that's my interest.
Very cool. So how this can work, and I'm going to make it easier on you so you don't have to go over and hover over yourself and do the virtual raise your hand. Just physically raise your hand and I'll call on you if you've got a question. So I'm seeing all of your faces, and who's got a question? Woody.
This has been a very interesting week. I have a website called Vitality Press, and that's my own company, obviously. And it's a Google. I use a Google. Have a Google website blogging site, and I got a notice from Google this week that said they were going to change or abandon. I'm not quite sure. It's half in gibberish. I wondered if anybody else has heard about this and what should be done about it. Does it mean I have to switch to WordPress? Because the reason I was on this site, because it was really easy to navigate, and I didn't want to screw around with very complicated things.
I'm not sure. It would help if what you could do later is take a screenshot of that, or because I'm not sure if Google's changed something up. But I will say this: it's always best to have your own territory that you own, because anytime you're on a platform, whether it's Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, anytime they can change the rules and suddenly that is gone. When you have your own domain, so like mine, bookmarketingmentor.com, that's mine. I pay for it. It's not going anywhere. So
Well, I have my own domain.
Okay.
Right, Vitality Press is a domain name, but,
Right.
But Google is, I've forgotten what they call it, but it's a place that I established a website, and I've been using it for years.
Right.
It just all of a sudden came out of left field. Simultaneously, Facebook announced changes I'm not quite clear on either about their personal pages. That sounds like it's changing as well.
Okay. Well, that's my guess. I don't know for sure what's going on with Google. I would have to look that up. But my guess is, even though you have your own domain name, if you're using somebody else's platform in order to host your content, this can happen. That they suddenly say, we're not doing that anymore, it's going away. But you may be able to salvage what you did. But I think I'm going to have a conversation with you offline on that, Woody.
Okay.
Because I think I know what we can do, but it always makes me nervous. Like,
Yeah, they had about a year ago. They had a shortener. Google had its own shortener for URLs.
Right.
I had been using that, and then they just decided to stop that. I now use Bitly.
Yeah.
But they've done that before to me.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say, Judy and Woody, to be really careful, because I had a wonderful website that just vanished one day.
Oh.
So just pay attention.
I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
I mean, you always want to back up your work. You always want to be sure if you're working with a third party. So like I have my site hosted at Bluehost, but I'm the webmaster. But I've also worked with other developers, and those developers can go off into who knows where.
Yeah.
So you need to be sure you trust the person you're working with, and that you have your content somewhere else, not just on the web, for that very reason. So like all of my blog posts, almost, I would say probably 90% of all my posts, I also have in Scrivener, so that if my website went down and suddenly I couldn't get back there, I would still have my content. So your content is the most critical part. How it's served up is second. But you want to be sure you trust whoever it is. And Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, any of the social platforms, they can change the rules at any time and suddenly your stuff's gone. So just beware of that. So always have another place, and be sure you don't just have it on one computer. I know this, I sound like I'm preaching to the choir, but we live in fire country, folks. So any moment, things are gone. If you don't have a cloud backup, bye-bye. You don't have an external hard drive where everything's backed up, bye-bye.
Yep.
Or, like this happened to Deborah Myers this week, or 2 weeks ago. Her computer croaked. Not sudden, and not, gradually. It went. And we first thought, she has a separate tech support person for that. But we thought she'd be able to restore everything from Time Machine. That probably is true, but in the meantime, she had no computer for 2 weeks. So always, always be prepared for the worst, and just expect the best, but be prepared for the worst.
Are you saying have both an iCloud and a hard,
Yes,
have
ma'am.
both?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. How many of this group are on the Mac universe? Those of you who use Apple devices, Mac devices, we have it a little bit easier, but you still have to pay attention. So if you have a Time Machine backup, that's one thing, but you need to verify that it's working, because that drive could, be going bye-bye, and you might or might not know it. But you should also use a backup system, whether it's iCloud, Dropbox, Backblaze, Carbonite. You want an off-site backup of your content, of everything that's important to you. Yes, Jean.
I have iCloud.
Mm-hmm.
I pay $3 a month for it
Mm-hmm.
from Apple,
Right.
so that's good.
It's one step.
Well, I also have a backup hard drive.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to suggest everybody does when we get off the call today, verify your settings for your backups. Make sure that those backups are viable. If you don't know how to do it, talk to your tech support person to, ensure that it actually is working. And periodically you should test it to see when was the last backup. And so you can selectively back things up, or you can choose to back everything up off of your drives. So it depends on how much stuff you have and how big your files are. But that's just so critical. And I was reminded of it today because another one of our friends posted, oh, you should update your emergency medical kit. And I went, oh, I should repost my article on what to do in case of a disaster. Because after the Tubbs fire, I went and researched all kinds of stuff. And so American Red Cross has a list. And if you go onto LinkedIn today, you will see the information that I posted on what to do to have emergency preparedness. Because there's stuff that you won't remember. Like having, well, I use a backup program, but I also use a password program. So I've got some of my secure documents. I'd scan them, and they're in my secure password program vault. So if I had to run out the door and I couldn't go grab the papers, I still know what my passport number is. I still know what my insurance number is. I have all of my bank account stuff in there. So think about your writing. What would you do? Okay, and I do have a client. She got burned out not in the Tubbs fire. No, she did get burned out in the Tubbs fire. All of her writing gone because it was all on paper. She writes longhand, had not yet put it into a digital document. It's all gone. So she's been recreating it over the last 3 years. But you know, I'm not discouraging people from writing longhand. But at the same time, I don't want to be dependent on something that could go up in smoke. And your computer can go up in smoke too. So, Jean.
I'm so happy you mentioned that. I've been on advisory evacuation for 3 years.
Oh.
I've never had to evacuate. Well, I did evacuate last year, but I realized that making that list is so critical, because you're telling me not only do I have to grab my papers, but I have to grab my laptop, which I know, but I should grab my hard drive.
Yep.
Which never occurred to me.
Well, this is funny too, because I saw some friends for the first time. We did a social distancing mini golf date, and she lives in the East Bay, so they've been on alert too. And so she said, well, if I'm not home, Brian won't know what to grab for me. So what they did is they color coded the stuff, their technology stuff, so that if he had to run into her office real quickly, he would know, oh, if it's got a pink thing on it, I'm taking it. And if she runs into his office, everything that's orange, I'm grabbing. And I realized my husband wouldn't know what to take for me. I probably could figure out his, but he might not be able to figure out mine. And so, yeah, so you want to make sure your writing is safe and protected.
That is so smart. You know, I'm so big on backing everything up and having my go bags ready and all my health stuff ready. And
Yeah.
I'm like, my husband calls me, you know, in your apocalyptic readiness, did you think the pack, blah, blah. Anyway, but no, the pink and blue, whatever, of tagging of each other's
Yeah.
in case one or the other isn't there did not occur to me. That is brilliant.
Isn't that smart?
So brilliant, yes.
And do you know what? Okay, I know I sound like a Mac fangirl, but I am. In your iPhone,
Love
if
it.
you have an iPhone,
Yeah, I
you
do.
can add for your emergency medical information.
Mhm.
You can link things in there so that if an EMT came to your house,
Yeah.
heaven forbid that won't happen, but you know, you never know.
Right.
That all the information that they need, they know where to go and they'll be able to get it.
I know, I have a friend that does that.
Isn't that crazy?
I know it is, but it's a great app.
It is.
Really.
What's the app called?
It just is your medical information in your phone. I know we just went completely off. Well, we didn't really. We really didn't.
Not really. Everybody should have this information. I don't know what the app is called. I should find out and get back to all of you.
Yeah, I think it's your health information. It's in your settings in your health information, but you can check on the Apple website and you'll be able to get that. Okay, so how about a publishing question? Yes, Nancy.
First of all, it's great to meet all you published people. I feel so honored to be on this call with you all. And Trudy, you really touched me with your Make Mom Happy by Mail. What a beautiful concept.
Thank you.
So I've written this children's book, as I mentioned, and we're 85-90% done. I haven't seen it to double check it on real paper. So I'd like to do that, but I don't know then, am I self-publishing? Am I doing a hybrid? So I reached out to, I think it's Fulton Publishing, which is sort of a hybrid model. And I don't know if anybody's heard of that. And another one, I think it was Pegasus, who's really a self-publishing model. So what do I do now?
Well, before any of us answers that, what's your goal for the book? What do you want? What would it look like if it was successful to you?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I mean, I was going to just do like 50 of them and give them to my friends and call it a day. And then this 8th grade artist was so spectacular, and I want her to get noticed. So now it's like, let's get this book out there. It's all about sort of people with challenges. It's an A to Z book, but people with challenges and how they can't overcome them and how they are more than unbelievable. They're able-lievable. And that's the name of the book, Able-lievable. And each page is an A to Z, a different character with a beautiful artwork. And so now I'd like to get it to schools and get it to kids in a bookstore. And I never thought that. I just thought, this is fun. But like I said, she made it so beautiful. I kind of want to put her on the map. And the concept is pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah, Amanda.
So our paths have actually dovetailed, Nancy. There may be others who have a similar story. The very first books I published children's books with my niece's illustrations. And the power, and those were the self-published series. Two things I want to say about what went right about that. One is she was about 6, I think, when she made those drawings. Oh boy, has she dined out on that ever since. I mean, that was a big feature in her going to college, is being able to point to her book on Amazon and say, I am a published illustrator. So I can't encourage you enough. And I also want to say that whatever decisions you make about this, it was very helpful to have that book live on a shelf that isn't a bookstore, so that all those years later, the book was still available and she could point to it. It's had a very, very slow sale, but a very long tail, which is what is said about books in this kind of category that we're in. And then let me just share with you, and maybe because we've walked, this is technically can be very sticky challenge, because it can be complicated. I'm assuming the illustrations are in color. Are they in color, Nancy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are complexities and not complexities about making a book like that. It's more expensive, as you're saying you're going to look at it in print. So, but I'm just encouraging you, and whoever you work with to publish, that could be yourself or a hybrid, you just want to be sure that it's going to live long-term on a shelf, because it's going to make a big, big difference to your collaborator up the road, not to mention you.
And now this was your niece. This gal just did it for the fun of it, but it turned out so well, I decided to pay her. And now it will cost me to if I do this hybrid model, it's a couple grand or more to do it. And you get the
ISBN.
all that, and and they tell Amazon and all that, but I don't know why anybody would find it necessarily, because nobody knows me, so I don't know anything actually.
Judy, you go, and I'll.
Okay, there was a reason you created this book.
Yes.
So what was your impetus for creating the book?
It was the first day of COVID, and I had a dream to support people who I really don't know. The whole book came to me in my dream, and so it was to write about people that have challenges, and some of them are kids that are just scared, let's say, to go on a swing, but others are like a kid with cancer. So it runs the gamut from small anxieties to huge fears. And I'm also introducing kids from around the world, so we have a world map. The kids are all over the world, and every ethnicity and every religion. So I wanted to teach kids, I'm a former middle school counselor. I wanted them to learn geography, because we don't teach that anymore. I wanted them to learn sensitivity about other cultures, but in a very subtle way. Okay, and I wanted them to learn emotion words and it's really a book to read with your mom or your grandma or your grandpa, and then to go deeper if you want, like a 8 or 9 year old could read it and get the surface concept. But if you're reading it with a parent, you could say, well, what is compassion, or what is fear? So it's it's kind of. But to answer your question, so it's written to support any child who's going through regular life, little scared things, or big challenges.
Right.
Can I just add, I want to encourage you to publish it and maybe hire a publicist to get it out there, which will cost some more money. Because the biggest thrill for me, I originally thought I would write a memoir just to leave a legacy for my sons. Well, it turned out my sons are not that interested at the point they are in their lives. And the biggest shock to me is that there are people that have been inspired by my story. I didn't write it for that reason, but it's very gratifying. And I think it's just, since you went to the trouble to write it, it sounds like a book that needs to be out there. And you might be surprised. I mean, initially, I went with a hybrid press. She Writes Press. I don't know if they do children's books or not. And at first, I didn't want to pay the money, but it's been worth it because I've learned so much. And they distribute like a traditional distributor. So that's why I've gotten the feedback that I have from people that I don't know, from people I do know. And actually, as a counselor, you'll understand, my background is working in the schools as a psychologist. And so writing it really just released a whole lot of energy or something that lifted it off my shoulders. Now, that probably isn't your book, but I just encourage people to write truthfully, and you'll reap the rewards.
Well, how do I get from this point to the next step to see this in the hard copy, Linda?
You might have the answer to that.
Well, Linda, did you want to comment on that, or you're still muted, honey?
Okay, I would like to say this, a couple things. As a former critical care nurse working with children in pediatric ICU, I saw the struggles, the gamut of struggles that children go through at all ages. And with you being a counselor, you have too. I think this could be completely blockbuster, especially today when you see so much bullying and the anti-bullying movement for children. For every reason, religion, race, disabilities, you name it. And it sounds like your book covers all of that. So I think this could speak to so many families and children across, the gamut of ages and types of disabilities and issues. I promote a lot of people because I'm the president of a branch of the California Writers Club. I don't know where you live, but you don't have to be.
I'm in Oakland.
You're in Oakland, okay. You don't even have to be in California really to be a member, but we have a meeting coming up with a woman by the name of Joan Gelfand.
She is fantastic.
I hear
What's the last name?
things. I'm going to meet
Gelfand. I'll put it in
tonight.
here.
Okay.
Tonight we're doing a practice session for the meeting that we have, a general meeting for our membership. We have about 125 members in our group, so we're one of the larger members, or branches rather, and I'm in the Mount Diablo. I'm president of the Mount Diablo branch. So we have a lot of people from Oakland and Berkeley, and they're all around Contra Costa. But anyway, long story short is it's at 9:30 is check-in. If you go on www.cwcmcdiablo.com or .org, I think it's .org, you can register for $10.
Is this right? CWC mountdiablo.org?
Yeah.
Okay.
And anybody can come to these meetings. We always open them to guests at a very fair rate. Right now we're on Zoom because of, obviously, the coronavirus. Usually we meet in Pleasant Hill. And when we did that, they costed more because we did a huge buffet. And it's either a speaker with a writer's table. And the writer's table, we pick people from our group to speak. And this time we have two speakers, and this is the other thing that will, I think, speak to you particularly, Nancy, is they're writing, it's called Writing for a Purpose. So in other words, they're kind of activists, like what is your cause? You know, and you have a cause here. You're writing for a purpose. You're writing for these kids. For overcoming children, overcoming challenges. That's your cause. And that's something you could get on a speakers bureau and talk around all over the country. So I'm just saying there's all layers of things you could do if you wanted to. And I mean, if you want to talk offline, just, you know,
Okay.
I'm easy to find on that I'm the president, so you can just write through there to reach me and tell me this is where you met me and you want to talk to me offline. And I always make time for people.
Oh, thank you.
So
Linda's bringing up a really good point. So Jean and I are both, and Marlene, we're members of Redwood Writers.
Oh, you are?
I'm also a member of Napa Valley Writers. These are all part of the California Writers Club.
Yeah.
I'm also part of Napa Valley Writers. Woody and I are members of Bay Area Independent Publishers Association.
Oh, yay.
And the reason, and I'm sorry, Amanda's a Redwood Writers too. God, yes.
I belong to Fremont Area Writers. I started it, and also to the San Francisco Peninsula branch.
Awesome. The reason we're telling you about California Writers Clubs, they are tremendous resources.
Yes.
And you'll find, and all of our clubs are slightly different in flavor, but because we are in COVID lockdown, all of our clubs are open to, we've always been open, but we're encouraging people to sample our meetings, to check us out, to check out all the different chapters, because we have talented people who speak. We have, our motto is writers helping writers.
Right.
So we are here to help. Now, She Writes Press is awesome. They are a hybrid, a reputable hybrid. Mango Press is also a reputable hybrid, because there's other people out there who say they are hybrid publishers, and I would run like the Dickens in the other direction. So before you ever give anybody any money, talk to somebody who's used that group. But because of your themes, okay, I'm going to hold up something that my girlfriend is a musician, songwriter. Elaine Lucia just released her CD. She did a crowdfunding campaign.
Who is this? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Elaine Lucia,
Okay.
and
Beautiful.
she is so amazing. We've been friends a really long time. Crowdfunding is another way to get the money, either for the whole shebang to publish or to get part of the money to publish if you don't have it. But it's a marketing campaign. So crowdfunding does more. Crowdfunding, it does more than one thing. They're the two biggest crowdfunding platforms are Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And if you just go on either platform, if you go into Kickstarter or Indiegogo and you say successful book publishing campaigns, it will bring up the ones that worked.
Okay, I don't think I need that. I think though, but you've used She Writes Press. Linda, did you say you used it or?
No, I have not.
Evelyn did.
I have.
I was just saying that the crowdfunding was a great idea. My thumbs up was to that. Crowdfunding is a wonderful idea. If money is an issue,
Money's not such an issue.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not rolling in it, but that's not my issue. My issue is how do I make a tangible product out of this?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't think that's going to be an issue for
I
you.
don't think it is either.
Yeah.
You should probably go online and look into the Society for Writers and Illustrators of Children's Books.
They've got a meeting coming up, a free one coming up. Hang on a sec.
SCWBI.
Right.
SC.
SCWBI, Society for Children's,
Is it .org?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I used to belong to that. They have conferences that'll give you all kinds of information, but don't let them discourage you. I wrote a children's book first. I had it evaluated, and then I didn't go any further.
Yeah.
Here's a little sample. I don't know if you can see this. This is the letter Y.
Oh,
Oh, it's charming.
that is
That is so
very attractive.
Yeah.
This one is a little boy who wants to learn. He's yearning is the
Oh.
emotion word. He's yearning to learn how to write haiku. So those are all the examples of pages he tried and they didn't quite work. So I don't know if you can see it. Can you?
Oh, hold it up again.
Hold it higher.
Hold it higher there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
I love
yes.
haiku.
And that's an 8th grader
Oh,
doing that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you one more. I know I'm taking up too much time. I'm sorry, but I appreciate everybody's feedback so much.
That's a great illustration.
Oh, you should see this little dynamo.
Jean, what
she's-
was that, honey?
I just wanted to support you in that it's very important that you mention, be very careful who is going to be publishing your book,
Mm-hmm.
because there are a lot of outfits out there who will take a huge amount of money and do nothing.
Yeah.
So what should I expect to pay for this hybrid, like a She Writes Press?
Well,
Marlene, did
yeah, Marlene, I want you to go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't have an answer, but Nancy, I want to connect with you maybe after. I have a friend who's also written a children's book and maybe could use that illustrator.
I can tell you what it cost me to publish my book.
Okay.
And I'm doing a second one, a follow-up on the first one. It costs around $7,000. $3,000, you pay them $3,000, and then later you pay them $3,000. Like I said, I hesitated, but I'm so happy with the finished product. They put out a good quality product, but I don't know if they do children's books, and that is quite a bit. People really balk at that, but they get more books to publish than they can possibly publish.
Was that the She Writes Press?
Yeah.
Yes, but there are.
When I said I had money, I wasn't thinking.
Oh, well, no, to publish, if you're going to hire whether you do, if I'll back this up a little bit. Self-publishing means you're going to be the project manager on everything. That means you're going to hire the editor, you're hiring the illustrator, the book designer, the layout, the cover designer, the whole shebang. It's going to cost you about the same amount of money if you hire a company, but if you do it yourself, then you can invest more of your time. Figure to publish a book and have it professionally edited, which it should be, whether it's a children's book or a novel or a memoir, whatever it is, it's going to cost you approximately, and this is approximate because it can be more or less, it'll cost you in the neighborhood of between $6,000 and $12,000. That's a really solidly good number to go with. Now, if you had talent in any particular area where you could do it yourself, then it might be somewhat less. But remember, everything has a value. Your time has a cost to it. So whether it's dollars or it's your investment of time, learning how to use software, learning how to do stuff, there's always a cost.
Well, most of the things that you mentioned, other than the final edit, we've done. Paulina, my artist, and I have done. Have done ourselves. The layout, the text, the cover.
But you don't know how to lay out a book. What I'm saying is, you can be an illustrator, you can be a designer. Creating the files to have a book ready to publish, either print or ebook, is a different story. Because I have a background in graphic design, and I have done book layout. I don't hire myself out to do that, and I probably am going to hire someone to do my book, not because I can't do it, but because they'll do it faster and they will see the stuff I won't see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have an editor edit your book. You go through and do everything you can to clean things up, but you will never see the stuff that you're expecting to be right because you already know what's supposed to be there.
Right.
So I love this, and I'd love to talk to you more, and I want to let some other folks ask some questions.
Thank you for giving me so much time.
I would just like to say something. I'm a professional editor, and I spent my whole life being an editor. I took all of the things I've written and had somebody else edit it, because there are things you always miss. And even after the editor had looked at it, there are still typos.
Oh, yeah. No, editing, absolutely. I 100% agree.
Yeah, I was going to say another way to go. Some of our CWC members have done this where they just run it off, good copies, and then they have it bound. And especially if you just wanted a limited number of people to see it. Sometimes they're seen by traditional publishers and then they will pick it up. I mean, you could try and sell it to a traditional publisher and get an advance and all that kind of stuff. And that's where the SCWBI comes in handy, because they have whole lists of resources for children's books.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And there is a Pitch Fest coming up.
A Pitch Fest?
Yeah. Well, okay. So when you're looking, if you're looking for someone else to publish the book, if you're looking for a traditional publisher or a hybrid publisher, depending on, who's in the room, agents, publishing representatives often will go to events like the San Francisco Writers Conference. There's Writers for Change, which is coming up. And if you just do a Google search for Pitch Fest, you'll see this. We did one earlier this year. I participated, my first time doing it, through the Women's National Book Association. And it was great because it was 2.5 hours nonstop. There were 8 different agents or publishing representatives, and some liked what they heard from each of us and some didn't. We were in small groups. And so I didn't get this feeling like, oh, everybody loves my book. But I had 3 of those out of the 8 that I pitched to who said, I want to know more, send me a query letter, or my book proposal rather. But a Pitch Fest gives you the experience of learning how to succinctly say, my book is for fill in the blank, and here is why it's important to that audience. And so you have done your homework in terms of researching, if I was to publish this book, is there anything else out there like it? Probably not going to be identical, but there should be something else out in the market that has some similarities. So one of the examples was hysterical. It was about like, I think they had combined War and Peace. I think Andy Ross did a really funny example. And so he did a 1-sentence description of what War and Peace was that, yeah, okay, then you would say, I think I want to read that book and I want to know it. So you look at comparable books, you explain it so that this is like a high concept. It's, maybe it's Frozen meets Twilight, whatever it would be. So something really screwy like that. So you're thinking in terms of that. And so that begs the question. So then somebody's going to ask you, tell me more about that. That is exactly what you want. You want to say something that gets people curious. They want to know more. And if they're interested in that idea, then you tell them more. Just like it's like speed dating.
And
Yeah,
when is the next Pitch Fest? You said there was a Pitch Fest.
I think there's a Pitch Fest coming up in the Writing for Change online conference, which is a part of the San Francisco Writers Conference.
And
In September. Yeah, it's this month.
and that is this Saturday, and Jordan has a ticket, right?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, Nancy, I left a message for you in the chat box.
Okay, I
If you
saw
want to
that.
contact me, my friend might be interested in your illustrator. And my other friend has a ticket for this Saturday's conference, making a change.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Writers conferences are phenomenal.
Yeah,
You'll
they're
meet
great.
people, you'll make connections, and because it's very likely that once you publish your book, you're going to be out there on the speaking circuit. You meet friends, you find out where you can go and speak. And that's really what this is. And as Amanda said, long tail. Most of us are not going to be a flash in the pan. One time we published, and then, you know, all of the universe comes our way, and suddenly we're the it girl or the it man, the Marlboro man, whatever we want to be. People are going to find us, but they're going to discover us over time. But
Do you share? Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, do you share your assets, God willing, there are any, after you pay all these expenses, with your illustrator?
When you say your assets, I'm not quite sure.
Your profits.
It depends on what your contract looks like.
Well, we don't have any. She just did this for the fun over the summer.
You still want to have a contract. It's important to have an agreement. It's
My
important
illustrator,
to line it up. Yeah.
my illustrator did it pro bono. I have a contract saying that any profits after expenses, he gets 1/3 of it.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's one page. I wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a big fancy schmancy, thing that you spend thousands of dollars with an attorney, but you do want to make it you want to lay it out and be explicit. What you're both, so that everybody knows what the playing field looks like. It's.
What did your niece get? Who was that, Trudy? Whose niece did their work with them?
She was 6, right?
Yeah.
Ice cream?
First of all, I definitely, and you can get a boilerplate. I did a 1-page contract just because I'm very happy to. Much more important to her and for a young person is that they are credited as the illustrator on the text. That's what she dines out on. But absolutely make an agreement, be fair. She's a part of the success of the piece. And she is the illustrator, not the designer. That's a different function. Yeah. And you're always going to be making, there's a fork in the road for you about publishing, but also about illustrator. It's either work for hire, they get a one-time fee and it's over, or they're getting a percentage of sale, or some combination of those things. And that's the way to be, unless it's a child, unless it's your kid, and I don't know, something you did in the kitchen, that's probably being a good...
I paid her a huge chunk in the middle, and she was flabbergasted, and her parents were like, "We can't take this." And I said, "Oh, yes, you can." And then
so you're just gonna write a little letter saying that was work for hire, and I'm so happy to have paid you for this, and then just be sure she gets credited.
Yeah.
Oh God, of course. But I was gonna give her 50% if there is anything to give, because it's her. I mean, she is an important part of the success or not.
She is, but it wouldn't have happened without you. So don't sell yourself short. But I'm curious, anybody else have a question? Yes, Evelyn.
Yeah, those of you, it sounds like several of you have written more than one book. And I'm wondering, I'm just doing my second book. Do you think the covers and the titles should relate somehow? If the subject matter is like the first one is up to when I marry, and then the second one is what happens after the marriage. So should the covers have some similarity, or should they be totally different, or are there no rules?
Both.
You can, in your case, looking at your title, it would be Climbing in Inca Walls or something like that.
That's about it.
Oh my gosh. If it's a series, then you want to have a similarity in how they look. And sometimes you don't know when you start that it's going to be a series.
Right.
Or like, I think, what have I heard? Yeah, my trilogy has 4 books in it. So so you can always go back and change things up. But if they do relate, and if there's some, the larger message, then yes, you do want to use probably similar fonts. You would probably do some, you want to make it so that, well, okay, Campbell's, you've all heard this if you've heard me before. You go in the grocery store. If you like Campbell's soup, if they all looked different and you couldn't tell what was in the can, then that wouldn't be very helpful. But if you love Campbell's soup and you love tomato soup, well, then you might be willing to try their,
Uh-huh.
their cream of celery. So it's a marketing decision. It's a branding decision. The more you can emphasize your brand as an author, that if people like your writing style, they're going to want more of it.
Mm-hmm.
And visually, if you can help them along, that's even better.
Okay, thanks. That's very helpful.
Thank you. I'm just checking the time. We're at 4:26, and I was going to show you. I'm going to show you one thing, but I'm going to grab it and get it up while you're going there. And I will share the slides with you after the webinar. And I'm just going to get up the. I've got one thing I wanted to. I was going to show you more stuff, but as usual, I always have more content than I allowed for. So I'm going to just get that up, and let me just do my share screen thingy with you. I've got something for those of you who want to know more after today. So you do know I'm a book marketing mentor, and what I do is I work with folks and I offer individual sessions. I have a 5-week book marketing mastermind, and you can book a virtual coffee with me, however. So if you haven't already done that, you can do that. If you just go to my website, bookmarketingmentor.com, when you say book an appointment, you can do a 20-minute free call with me. And then this mastermind group is starting. So it's going to start September 10th. So it'll be the 10th, 17th, 24th, and October 1st and 8th. If you put in the code when you go to register, you'll get $200 off. So it will only be $197, and it's 5 90-minute sessions in a group where we do something similar to this, except that there's going to be a topic each week. There'll be homework, and you're going to be building your author platform or fixing your author platform. You will be finding out about other resources, and every time people come together and they share what they learned, they share where they got stuck, and you know what? We all get stuck on something. Everybody does. What I've noticed with groups, just the fact that you have committed to being there and to showing up, you will get more done in a shorter amount of time, and you're going to be making some friends who can help you. So it's very cool. So Linda, are you taking off? Okay. Oh, you're still on mute, honey.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Thank you for
That's
the great
okay.
information. I've got another Zoom I've got to fly to. But
Understand. Thank you for being here. And I'll be sending this out to you
Great. Oh,
very
thank
shortly.
you so much.
Thank
Great
you,
meeting
dear.
all of you. Thank you so much. Good
Thanks.
to see you all again, and please feel free to come to the meeting.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, it'll be really good.
Yeah.
Okay, take
Bye.
care. Gotta fly.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
So I just want to encourage you, if whether you work with me or you go to one of the other writing groups or you go to one of the other organizations, being in a group it'll expand your mind. You will find out what you need to know because you'll ask the question. And because the people that show up want to help. We all want to help. And I just think it's a beautiful thing. And I'm very grateful to have discovered all of you, all of the places that I've been to since I've been on this journey of discovery. And I started because I was helping a client. I had a client who said, I'm publishing my book of cartoons. Let's go to this conference. And I fell in love with the energy of the other creative people. And I had never been, outside of school, I had never been with other creative people who said, oh, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And, oh, let me show you what I got going on. Oh, my God, it's just the most marvelous thing. And when I get to hold in my hand the books that you've written, I'm over the moon. I absolutely am. Anybody have any last thing that is urgent you want to know that we can cover? I don't want to keep you over time.
I just have a question for Marlene. You mentioned that you just literally went to a press and got at least one physical copy. Does anybody have is it Kinko's, or where can you get like a couple really good copies so that you can see it, hold it, touch it before you send it out? Any copy company or?
You said you're in the East Bay?
Yeah, I'm in Oakland.
Minuteman Press is really good in the East Bay. There's a bunch of places. There are a number of copy stores that also do books. Some of them do printing as well as, photocopying as well as printing. But if you, I think Fred Fassett would be the person I would suggest the most, because he owns a Minuteman Press in the East Bay. And I can send you, if you send me an email, I will send you the information. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But that really does make a difference. When you see,
Yeah.
I know right now I'm starting to feel like I've just killed about a forest and a half, and I haven't even printed the whole damn thing out. But you have to see it on paper in order to really get a full feeling about what you're doing.
When you see it in spiral binding, it's very exciting.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Nancy, this is Marlene here. So I sent you a message in the chat box.
Yeah.
You email me, we'll connect that way.
Okay, Cullen.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I'll just take a picture of this chat before it all.
You can save the
Oh, you
chat
can
box.
save it, honey. Yeah, if you just click on the 3 dots where it says file under the chat, you can save it.
Go to the bottom of the chat box.
Yeah.
The bottom of the chat
See
box.
that?
Hold on. The bottom of the chat box. Oh, the 3 dots.
Yeah, click on the 3 dots and then you can say where you want to save it.
Oh, I never knew that. All these damn Zoom things, and I never knew that. Gee.
Well, those of us who are hosts have to set it up so that you can do that, because some don't let you do that.
Okay. So it's saved. God knows where it is. I have no idea where.
You will find it. You will find it. So
Okay.
I hope this was helpful to everybody,
Great.
and I am looking forward to seeing you all in the group. It will make a huge difference, and you'll just be amazed at what you'll accomplish. I'm just delighted, and I can't wait to see all of your books. And Trudy, I've got a brainstorm for you on your mom book. How to do something now while we're in COVID, since you can't do what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
And of course, be ready for April for a Mother's Day thing.
yeah, this is perfect. This is a perfect amount of time.
Yeah, good timing for that. Start now.
Yeah.
Get set up.
Yep.
And Judy,
Thank you,
I'm going to
Judy.
send you an email. Do I have your email address, Judy?
Yes, you should have it, but I'll be sending this out to you, and so you'll get me again. I'm Judy B at bookmarketingmentor.com.
Judy B at bookmarketingmentor.com. Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you,
I'm
everybody.
so glad to see you all. Thank you all for being here. This was wonderful. So much fun.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Thank you,
Take
everybody.
care.
I'm overwhelmed. If you want to hear some jazz music, you can listen to my jazz on. It's called my CD is called My Serenades by Nancy Smith. I am not the singer. I'm the writer. But it's kind of fun. It's
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. I wish I knew something about writing, but okay. Thank you all.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Judy, do you have a plan to do another one of these?
I haven't decided when, but I think so.
You'll let us know. I have a friend
Will. Oh, of course I will.
who would be good to. I have many friends who'd be good to know about this.
Thank you.
Yeah, and actually, I'm always happy to promote authors and what other people are doing.
Yeah.
You can, if you want, anytime you can write a blog post for my
Okay.
blog.
Yeah.
Tell about yourself, what you're doing. I just want one of the posts to be inspiring or informational for writers.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Yep. Not pitching me at all.
That's definitely pitching you. That's what it's all about.
You're so cute.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
my dear.
you.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.